I don't remember exactly when this was, I'm pretty sure it was around March of 2018. I was 12 years old and in 7th grade. I often listened to / read scary stories online about things like sleep paralysis, but I never thought it would happen to me. So before I had woken up I was having a strange dream. I was playing a game, but it felt like I wasn't playing and it was real. I was shooting some targets, and then I blacked out for a second. I woke up on the main road that goes into my neighborhood and saw that the road was gone. The houses on my street were very small, 2-story box houses. Elderly people were standing out front of the houses, all reading a newspaper, and the sign at the front of my neighborhood only read "Brook," with the rest crumbling off. I then appeared at my morning bus stop for school looking at my phone. Everything was normal until a bush, that normally isn't there, screwed at me. I remember feeling as though this was normal, so I screamed back. We went back and forth until I woke up with the scream echoing in my ears. I was in my bed looking against the wall, unable to move. I hadn't realized that I was experiencing sleep paralysis, but was still freaked out by that screaming to fall back asleep. I lay there not hearing anything for about 5 minutes. I then heard what sounded like heavy boots hitting the ground out in my living room, coming towards my bedroom area. Just so you know, outside my bedroom there is a hallway, on the left is a bathroom, at the end is my parents' room, and at the end on the right is a door that goes to my living room. The footsteps grew closer, coming to the hallway and then my parents' room. At that moment I remembered my dad was out of town on a business trip, so my mom, who is a nice small lady, was defenseless. I heard the walking start up again and come towards my room. The door opened and whatever was out there came in, walked to the side of my bed, and stared at me. I close my eyes and begin to pray. I'm not religious, but it's the only thing I can think to do. After what felt like hours, I try to turn over to look and see if anyone is there. I roll over with my eyes still closed to appear to anyone that is there that I'm still asleep. I open my eyes and begin to squint. The coast is clear. I crawl out of my bed slowly and look at the clock. 4:14 a.m. Dang, I got school tomorrow, I thought. I tiptoed over to my door and grab a decorative or my mom put on the wall in my room and walk out into the hall. The light in our living room door was open with the light on, which was not normal, especially when my dad was out of town. I check the bathroom and peek around the corner of the door, nobody, so I make a silent sprint into my mom's room, putting the oar down on the floor. I shake her awake, quietly whispering her name. "Mama, I think there's someone in the house," I heard walking around outside my room, and I began to tear up, realizing this all may have been in my head, and I woke up my mom for nothing. "It's alright," Mom said, "we can go check the house real quick." I grab the oar and go check the house with my mother. There was nobody in our house, so I go back to bed relieved that we were safe and that none of that was real. I haven't had a sleep paralysis experience since, and am glad it wasn't worse. This event happened to me about 2 years ago. So sorry if I don't have everything on point. It was a few months after my 15th birthday. To give some background about the situation and me, I was about 5 feet 9 inches at the time, and the last school year I had done cross-country then wrestling as my sports. Now don't take this the wrong way, I was one of 2 95-pound wrestlers on my team, being the second smallest kid on the team, so you could assume I was not the scary type. Also, I and my little brother were raised Mormon, even though we don't go to church now, so due to this fact he and I were extremely sheltered from the real world, especially because we grew up in the mothership of Mormonism, aka Utah. To give you an idea, I did not have any idea about drugs before I moved to California. Now that you understand this about me and my little brother, let's get into the story. So it all started as a friendly road trip going from Utah back to California. It was me, Jake my little bro, who is 3 years younger than me, Zach my stepdad, Buck my step-grandpa, and Sven my step-grandma. Buck was driving with Sven in shotgun, Jake and Zach in the middle row, and me in the very back with the luggage. After a long day of driving, we found a hotel to get a discount at in Mesquite, which is around Las Vegas. We stopped, parked, and got our room keys. Me, Zach, and Jake would be in one room with Buck and Sven in the other room. After we got there we all took our stuff to our rooms and me and Jake wanted to go down for a swim because the hotel advertised their pool and it looked awesome. My stepdad Josh graciously said yes and told us when to be back and we said okay. This is when I should tell you that neither I nor my brother had a cell phone, all I had was a second-generation iTouch to tell the time. So when we get down there we go in the pool a bit then go to the hot tub. Currently, there are 2 women in the hot tub, their names will be Megan and Annie. Megan was a mother and her 2 to 3 children were playing in the pool, they were around mine and my brother's age. Annie was a lady who seemed to be in her 30s, but for some reason, she looked like she had lived on the streets her whole life, but none of my alarms kicked on being my sheltered self. Looking back on it now as a 17-year-old with everything I have learned, she was 100% on something, and I mean something hard. My little brother and I get in and we soon join the conversation between Megan and Annie. Annie was the one who pulled me in and Jake got pulled into it by her as well. She started off asking how our day was doing and questions like that and soon started to ask where we were coming from and where we were going and why. This is the point that I want to say that an alarm was going off but I still just told her everything not thinking. Later Megan was talking to Jake and Annie and I was listening when I glanced over at Annie and Annie looks at me and says something along the lines of, "You know the boy, it's very rude to look at someone's boobs without asking them." After she says this I'm like what the heck? Then she continues and says something like, "Yeah, I know that they are nice and I can understand why you are looking at them, me being older and all." At this point I'm like, "Lady, what the heck is wrong with you? What are you even talking about? I'm only 15 years old, what the hell, man?" Then Megan leaves and takes her kids back to her room, so it was just me, Jake, and Annie. Annie then proceeded to say, "Hey, want to come up to my room? I have something cool up there," or something along the lines of that. I can't remember what she said, but Jake and I were interested so we followed her. She is walking us over to her room and we get to a point where we have to go up some stairs and out of nowhere comes Megan and she says to Annie, "Here, they'll wait down here with me while you get it." Surprisingly, Annie complies and walks up the stairs to her room to get whatever it was. As soon as Annie enters our room Megan turns to us and says, "You need to be careful around people like this, run back to your room as fast as your legs can carry you, I will talk with Annie." Right when I hear this everything clicks in my head, stranger danger. Then me and my little brother nope the hell out and get to our room freaking out and lock the door. The whole night I was afraid she would find us, so as you could tell I did not sleep that night. Looking back at it now, I could have never seen my family again, been raped, killed, or many other things. To say the least, I owe mine and my brother's life to Megan and I thank her deeply. And just to close, the creepy lady who thought I was looking at her boobs, let's never meet again. So when I was about 12 me, my mom and my big brother moved into a house that was about 20 miles away from the nearest town. Seeing that my mom didn't have a car at the time and my brother wasn't old enough to drive meant I would have to take a taxi to school every day. But when my mom went looking for taxis to take me to school they all came out with lame excuses like, "Oh no, that's way too far for me to drive," or "I can't, I'm busy every day." But finally, after hours of looking online, she found this one guy who was willing to take me to and from school every day at an extremely low price. So a couple of months had passed and I was just getting ready for bed, exited maths which I had the first lesson, so I hopped into bed. Oh, and by the way, my bed was facing the window as I liked it because it helped me sleep for some reason, like it always had, my mother would say. It was a normal morning. I had got up, brushed my teeth, had a shower and then would play on my phone for a couple of minutes waiting to hear the taxi pull up as it did. But before I could get onto my feet there was a large man about 6'7" stood at my door. I'm pretty sure that I nearly fainted in horror and I heard his banging, just to find out that it was my taxi driver. He did the same when I arrived home as well, which was strange for him because he was a very quiet man who would never say hi or bye, and I was fine with that because I'm pretty shy myself. I was about to slam the door behind me just to make sure it shut properly when I saw this taxi driver's foot kick the door back open, and his deep voice says, "Is your mother in?" "Yes." I replied in shock and shouted her from the room opposite to the room she was sat in with my brother. I was sitting in my bedroom whilst they spoke, so all I could hear was my mother's trembling voice like she was nearly screaming in fear, and the big taxi driver's deep voice. We moved out a week later. My mother never told me why or what they spoke about until a few days ago when I asked her, and she said the taxi driver had arrived 10 minutes early and claimed he had seen a small man about 5'9" with a knife clearly down his sleeve and a camera held firmly in his hand next to plastic bag swinging off of a strap on his chest. The taxi driver did try to catch him but ended up grabbing the bag and ripping it off of the man's chest. He said it was full of pictures of me and my mum. They never found the guy, but gladly I had to get my coat when the taxi driver pulled up, or I would have witnessed this all and probably would have been scarred for life. So to the guy who took pictures of me and my mum, let's not meet again. Thanks for watching. If you would like to submit a personal story of yours for the chance to have it narrated on this channel, please send your story to the email in the description. I would love to know, down in the comments, what story was your favorite. Don't forget to join me on Instagram and TikTok, and I will see you all soon with another creepy video.